That's it. That's the character study.
I'm looking at you a certain way. I'm gonna look shifty. I'm looking around like I've done something wrong or someone's done something wrong in this whole entire house. And then at the end, we find out everything's normal. No one's done anything wrong. It's fine. We're good.
I like that. We should do the whole podcast like that. Just eyes.
Just eyeballs, just zoom in on the eyes and see how they work.
Eyes only reviews.
And the reasoning for that would be more in depth than the reasoning for zooming in on all the eyes here.
It showed intent.
It showed intent. So, okay. How many have wandered innocently into the waiting spiderweb? How many more are doomed to follow? The smell of the rooms terrifies me and lures me. The smell of blood. How many more are still to come? Onwards into the depths of this podcast. Welcome to Additional Crew, the spoiler-heavy review show where we choose whatever random film we want to talk about. This episode, we bring to you a New England home is terrorized by a series of murders. Unbeknownst to the guests that a gruesome secret is hiding in the basement. I am, of course, talking about Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery from 1981. It was actually nominated in 1983. It's a little bit of gap there, in case you're wondering. I don't know what's up with that. But it was nominated for the best film in the International Fantasy Film Award category by Fantasporto.
Well, probably it was Italian, and then they dubbed it English, right?
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But no, but we'll talk about that. It's a funny story on this one. This movie has a small but dedicated following for it. Okay. Sorry, there's a quote on here that
about Bob.
No, it's about John
Ford. I have
another
kid. I'm naming them Bob.
Yeah, and you should, because Bob is apparently a good name for children. That was one of the first things we did. But we're going to talk about this film, but before we jump into that, and we will momentarily, let me introduce your co-hosts. I'm Nick, and with me is Adam. Adam, I was able to wrangle you into the full-time co-host recently, so you're going to see a lot of this guy. You've seen a lot of him recently as well. Happy New Year's, Adam. How you doing?
Thanks, man. I'm good. I got some pre-recorded television with commercials of the Ducks football, which I really like. So I've got some of that going on in the background here. This is the 1995 Rose Bowl parade. They had two separate tapes, one for the parade, one for the football game for that one. So it's sick. That's what I've been doing. I don't know. And then hanging out with the family for Christmas, you know.
Great. That is pretty sick. I mean, like, go Ducks, right? Like, so everything has gone very well. They get to go against Indiana this week, which should be a crazy. You know, that's gonna be a heck of a game, regardless of how you slice it. Really. Yeah. As a Raiders fan,
football's been good to me. I'm a Seahawk and a Duck, so
you get to see some playoff football. As a Raiders fan, I get to see my future QB in that game. I don't know which one
you get
exactly.
To break my boy Pete Carroll's heart.
Well, okay, so here's the story. I'm going to be brief about this because this isn't a football. Yeah, this isn't a football, I guess. But he refused to fire Brennan, and that's an issue.
What, his son?
Yeah, son. He wouldn't fire his son. Pete's got some heart. I mean, it is what it is, you know? Yeah. I think everyone's like, yeah, you don't want to do that, so let's move. If you want to hear more of this, check out my other podcast, The Double Doinkers, where I just talk about football and football-related stuff. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery.
It is. The house is a cemetery, actually.
Yeah, that's, I was wondering that because at what point...
when you bury people in the house, like...
There's an actual tombstone in the house. If you haven't seen this movie, stop right now, go watch it, and then come back to us, okay? But if you have, then you do know that like there's like a level where it becomes, I think, the difference between by the cemetery and in the cemetery is it's a fine line. But I really do think that this movie was in the cemetery, not by the cemetery. And
is a mausoleum in the cemetery, or on the cemetery, or by the cemetery? It's the cemetery, right?
The house that was the cemetery. That's a whole different movie,
Fulci, though, and his ability to make buildings, living things. You could argue. Anyways, keep going. Spoiler
Okay,
heavy whatnots and whatchamacallers, everyone.
exactly. We okay. So we've already hit the introduction to this podcast. As you may tell, we play things a little loose in this area. We're a little bit of a loose gun.
Well, the first up is usually we talk about the story, and since this movie doesn't have one, I think that we're just
Yeah.
trying to fill a little bit of time. So let's hear about the
Let
story. What's the movie
less
about,
about
Nick?
filling time, more about me explaining what things are about when it's really kind of hard to understand. So okay, so House by the Cemetery follows the story of a young family, the Boyles. Lucy Boyle, of
Bob
course, played
Boyle.
it. Lucy Boyle, played by Catherine McCall, who, if you've watched any other Fulci films, you've seen Catherine McCall. She happens to just hang around in these movies. They work well together. She was the main actress in The Beyond, probably most famously. And then Dr. Norman Boyle, who is played by Paolo Malco. Excuse me, I need to cough. Gross. He was also in another Fulci movie, The New York Ripper, but that one took place after this. So Fulci kind of brought in people he knew. Other than that, you've got Anne the Babysitter, played by Anya, and Bob Boyle, played by Giovanni Fresa.
Nah, his name's
Um,
Bob Boyle.
Bob Boyle, which is such a good name,
Good
such a
name.
good American name
Good
for an
football
American
name.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
middle linebacker name.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Mae Freudstein, who's played by Sylvia Colatina.
Freudstein.
So, just right away, this film is about a doctor who's moving into a house of one of his former colleagues. The former colleague committed suicide while studying suicide. I believe it's mentioned. They're doing a research paper on something or another related to suicide. There
Are you
are
sure?
10. I'm not 100% sure.
Nobody
They
is.
do. Yeah, he mentions it to his real estate agent, which is kind of how we find out about any of this. The real estate agent, who's completely unnecessary because they already know where they're going to move into. They like he's talking to her like he's house searching. They have the house. They found the house. It's already been known. Um,
The Freudstein place.
the Frowsy Oakwood Manor,
Sorry,
Adam.
my bad.
Oakwood Manor,
My
please
bad. She did get
remember.
mad about that.
It's Oakwood Manor. Um, it's one of those things that it's just like the story in this movie. I'm going to be just honest right from the get. I'm going to say some nonsensical things because the story in this movie is not the point of this movie. It is a thing that exists just to move you from piece to piece to piece to let you see the things that they want you to see.
Fulci takes a lot from things, if you think about like the Mouth of Madness or the ideas behind like some H.P. Lovecraft's more like chaotic writings, he takes a lot from those. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, the story was a skeleton that existed to carry the plot, but I mean, it is like a fever dream for a lot, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it.
Yeah, and it almost feels like the story sets up like a surrealistic plot, but it doesn't. I don't even think it gets that far. Like I think I'm giving it a lot of credit as far as the story goes for that purpose. Fulci himself talked about this though. He talked about how this movie didn't play particularly well for certain Western crowds because they expected the story to have a plot and to make sense, as opposed for everyone to just understand that he's presenting a series of scenes. Um, which if you look at it that
I
way, I
mean, if
think you
I
can give
was
it a lot.
European and I wanted to over explain things that I did wrong to people, I'd probably use those words.
uh, well, why not? Everyone today could be European if you try hard enough. I don't know what that means.
I don't
I
know.
said it and I
You
couldn't
said it,
figure
I'm
it
waiting.
out. Um,
I find it a lot with the European style of directing, especially with the Italians, some with the French, the Dutch in this horror slasher genre, is they will completely forego plot for cinema, is what
mhm,
they'll call it, but what we call it is like the three of horror movies, right? Like some TNA, some like absurd violence, and some like extremely dark tone setting, right? Like, and that's just kind of they did the same things here in the States with movies, the same idea as that sort of slaughterhouse style. Um, and none of them have really great stories. It's more about the art being put together, the pieces being put together. And so when you're looking for a movie with a story, Fulci did some great stuff, but like none of it is extremely well written.
One of the things I think was just to immediately set apart like something that may not have worked as well in the States versus in Europe, right? Is that this is a in ways a slasher flick, but from the perspective of the family, mainly centered around the family instead of mainly centered around the villain monster bad guy.
Well, he does like putting you in the vehicle of the monster, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's the main difference. So, anyways, he gets this job. He goes to this house. He brings his whole family here. His whole family's going to live in this terrifying old house. Again, we already talked about this. It's the house by the cemetery, but it's the house in the cemetery. Now, you may be asking yourself after you watch this film, why do you have to research suicide in this house? And I still ask myself that question. So I don't have a good answer for that. Because no one committed suicide, everyone got killed. One
They
guy was
said
found
he
hanging,
hung himself, though.
but he hung himself at the library on that rail they keep doing the slow pan ins on.
Yeah,
Um, which is cool. I love slow pan ins on random objects to make them seem spooky. That's awesome. Um,
yeah.
but okay,
It's that
so
Italian art that I don't get.
okay. So again, I'm grasping here, and the reason I'm grasping is because the story is pretty much not really existence. There are some deeper themes
Family
and
moves from New
messages.
York because he's got to
Hmm.
finish some work that a professor that was better than him at what he did was doing, and then he was going to get his name on the research paper, right? And that was a
Hmm.
big deal. Well, he's dead, so you don't have to put his name on the research paper. It's all yours. And so he drags his family up to some, what, Massachusetts, New England?
New Whitby,
There you go.
yeah, New Whitby,
And they
Boston,
have
I
to
think is
stay
the
in a
city.
house, so they stay in the house where this guy stayed, right? And it's like literally a cemetery with literally a tombstone or at least a placard in the house. um, and that's it. That is the plot of the movie.
Hmm.
That is the whole vehicle, and then all of a sudden dolls and little girls and like
That happens really quickly too. The doll with the
th-
little girl is very fastly inserted into the movie as a
everything I
thing
just
that we
said
should
for 20
exist.
minutes of the movie. That's it. And
This is
then the
accurate.
roller coaster, you're locked in, and then it goes.
Um, yeah, so there's just parts of this like early on you get this kind of like what feels like it's going to be a pivotal important scene of May, the little girl with the doll, staring at an not Anakin mannequin of Anne. So mannequin, I guess that's the portmanteau in itself that loses its head, and that's foreshadowing. Clearly, we are spoiler heavy.
Foreshadowing's a narrative device.
And this one, it's just I think like this is like the one a few opportunities. It's like let the viewer in on the plot I have in my head, because it's not a story that connects well. It is just instead of series of how do we set up this particular thing I want to show them,
Right.
and it works vaguely because as a family you
If your
need someone
shit's
to
good, I want to
babysit.
see it. He had
And
good stuff, so
Fulci is known for his good stuff.
I don't remember what movie I was watching, but some guy's like, nobody likes a show off, and he's like, unless the stuff you're showing off is awesome, and I was like, right.
Oh man, I just read that somewhere earlier today too. Um, but yeah, so the story, I'm gonna go ahead and just say the story doesn't make a lot of sense. The story is pretty much non-existent. There is a monster in the basement. How he gets out prior to this, when the locks are cemented over, who knows? It doesn't matter. He also has some ability to do some telekinesis stuff because he's shutting doors while he's also downstairs. It's really not that important. He is not really explained except for every once in a while they say he needs to eat us to stay young. But he's clearly not staying young because he looks like garbage.
Yeah.
Dr. Freudstein. And it's like a little bit of a mystery where the dad is trying to figure out Mr. Poyle, Dr. Norman Poyle. He's trying to figure out what's going on in his house when all he really needed to do was look in the basement one time.
Well, once you went into the basement, there was a second room, and it was difficult to walk across the basement into that room
Because
because
it's really scary.
there's eyeballs.
I mean, if I saw those eyeballs in my basement, and I want to talk a lot more about that scene in the cinematography creativity section because, like, I sound like I'm dogging on this movie pretty hard right here, and this is the area where I am going to dog on this movie pretty hard
Now,
because this
listen
is the
up. This
one.
movie's sweet. It's actually pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
The story is terrible. The movie's
Yeah,
sweet.
if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, I hate this review," they're going to give up. Don't just wait, just chill
I
with us,
like
okay?
bad
Because
movies.
so this nonsensical plot eventually leads to just everyone dying, question mark. It leaves you with philosophical questions at the end of
Right.
a story that didn't make sense, which is really rough when it just kind of like hits you over the head with a philosophical question that it didn't like bring up at all until the very end of the film. So one of the themes of this movie is link between the spirit world and the living world, and that's like pretty obvious early on because May, the little girl with the doll, she doesn't seem to exist to anyone other than Bob the child. Um, it's like I have some questions I wanted to hear your opinion on.
Hmm?
Is May real? She seems to like exist in some corporeal world in the past, and she just like is yelling in her room abjectly at a wall, from what I can tell, and that's how she talks to Bob. But she appears to Bob, or is this like some other universe that we're seeing here? Do you think that she exists within our timeline?
Well, she's in the picture, right? And that's definitely her. And that picture is old.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so instantly we know that she doesn't age.
yeah.
So that takes it out of the realm of reality. What is she? I think that she's probably. Remember, it gives you the brief where he says, "Well, you came here with your daughter." I think that might have been her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think she's trying to save the little kid. I think the little kid actually dies at the end of the movie and misses whatever and take him away to the afterlife or something, or maybe something like that. But I don't know. I can't imagine that. But see, there's no with a movie like this and the research that I know and what I know about Fulci. I'm going to say that it falls into either undead, magic, or Lovecraftian sort of vibes, and those things are not necessarily explainable other than it is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So saying she's a ghost feels kind of icky at the same time. She's an apparition of some sort, obviously, because even Anne never sees her. Nobody ever sees her except for who I'm assuming she was the wife of Freudstein, Mrs. Freudstein, because they
yeah, yeah,
said she said no, she's not buried here, right? And little
yeah.
girl, and so she knows, but I don't think that's like a living thing. Interdimensional, maybe. I don't know if Fulci really, with everything I read about Fulci, it never really crossed into multi-dimensional thinking or anything like that, unless we're thinking of like Lovecrafting as being a multi-dimensional, which it is. But
So I will I have a quote here I'm going to read in a second regarding the ending in specific because Fulci did answer this in the 90s prior to his death. He had an interview about a bunch of his films and this came up
great, still
because
wrong.
with May, that was the question I easily had. Is like, okay, so May's showing up to Bob, but I don't know if it's like a ghost from the past, which it would only kind of make sense, except for it keeps showing her in the past screaming at a wall the same thing she's saying to Bob currently, which makes me think, well, that doesn't make sense that
Well,
she's a
she's
ghost
dressed,
now.
period.
Mm-hmm.
And
But the Bob getting pulled out of the grave placard in their living room by May and Mrs. Freudstein was an interesting choice because at that moment he'd been grabbed by the doctor. So I clearly thought, yeah, like, also this is the representation of him going to the afterlife.
Yeah,
He
that's
did
what I
die in
thought.
that scene there, but Fauci or Fulci, not Fauci. Fulci didn't go that far. He didn't want to show the kid getting killed. He was like, you know what? All right.
My assumption. That was my assumption.
That made sense to me, and it was like, okay, now they're walking down the road. This is the afterlife. Okay, Fulci pulling a punch on a kid death. That's kind of shocking because he showed a corpse with a wide open belly, and he called it a kid earlier. But um,
No, he was. I don't think. I think it was just the, you know, here's what happens when you die. Like it's instant.
hmm which I liked that representation of it. So, um,
But Fulci said like it's if you thought that you probably have strong attraction towards your mother, and what I really meant was
not quite. So, the interviewer asked him, did you want to cement into people's minds that Bob died? And Fulci answered, no way. I often tried to exercise my personal hell to no avail. So now I show it in my films. But mind you, what is to me the most tragic thing in the house near the cemetery, he calls it a different thing. It's fine. It's Italian, who knows? Is not the people who die, but that little girl who opens for her young friend the gates to the world of the dead and saves him from normality, i.e., he's from the monster who killed the boy's parents, but also plunges him into the beyond. In fact, those children do not actually die. They just live in another world in which adults have no power. Finally, the most frightening thing is that the house stays there and will receive more visitors.
okay.
So, um,
Good job explaining that in your film.
I love it. So, it's I could accept this on one, like, almost on no levels. I'm gonna be real. I'm really trying here because
That's the
May
thing, man. We're
existing,
brutally honest film reviews. You don't have to be. You don't have to act like it was the story was anything.
yeah, and you probably shouldn't really, like. This is just part of what we have to go through here.
There's
Oh,
so much beauty in this movie, but the story ain't it.
mm,
Some
um,
of it, some of the story is like funny, right? Like I laughed out loud at this movie like three different times. Like shit's
yeah,
absurd.
yeah.
Um, it's just not.
The
It's not cohesive, right? It's like you have all of these ideas or things that are brought up as plot points, and they seem like very, very important plot devices in the movie. Like, oh, we're finally, and it's just one sentence, and that's it.
hmm hmm
You know,
because this idea, this interesting idea that he's getting pulled into another dimension altogether, right? And it's kind of a tragic thing, but it's also different.
is that
Is
why people can't find that guy in the basement? Because once you go into the basement, you go into the Freudstein dimension, or is
That's a good thought because maybe that's it. Maybe like they all went into but it's impossible
because
to
I would
tell really.
assume when 10 people die at that house, the cops are showing up and taking a look around.
I feel like the imagery of the little girl, pulling him out of the grave is too obviously a sign of someone traveling to the afterlife. That, like, you can say this like later on down the line, but like
Those were
you've
two
made.
really. I'm just going to throw it out now. Those are two very interesting looking kids.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, yeah. Um, Bob is he's just got the bluest eyes and the blondest hair I've ever seen in my life. Very American. Uh, and then May, they couldn't have cast someone who looked like they were from
Right.
1890 better.
Thought the kids were great.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I just another quote because we're talking about the story here that Fulci also gave in that same interview. He was cooking on this one, okay? And this is regarding again the same film here. He says, all that is told may have happened, in fact, in the child's imagination, even his
Right.
parents' death.
Right.
So we're also led to believe that potentially Bob is just creating this whole entire thing in his head, and I think that
Didn't
is
even go on
also
beyond that farther to say that the kids are actually the the bad guys in the movie, and
that
the kid created a reality in which his parents died.
That's a quote that is put there very awkwardly at the end of the film because it doesn't really track with anything that we just saw, that maybe monsters are children and children are monsters.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you're just like, okay, well,
we have
sure,
kids. We
yeah.
both know children are monsters. Okay.
That was the one thing I thought immediately while I was watching this film was like, Fulci must have just had a kid, or the kid is like
Like hasn't slept
right.
in a month. I'll show you.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, well, Bob's gonna have the most annoying voice I've ever heard in my life, and now everyone's gonna call you monsters, you children. Oh God. Because that makes the most sense. And if that's the story of this movie, Fulci, you should just come out. You should have came out and said it, because I would have been like, yep, we're in.
The good
Um,
thing about art is it doesn't matter what he thought it was. It just
it's
matters what
true.
I thought it was. He's
True.
not sitting in my house telling me what to think.
As a vehicle for like moving you from moment to moment with some clever moments interspersed within. I think, again, I'm gonna hate on the story. My review score of the story is gonna suck, but some of these moments were pretty clever. I resonated a lot with some of them. Watching Bob walk around with his stuffed animal and toy gun was like definitely a pleasure, because that felt like a real kid moment. Like his
Sure.
babysitter saying, I need help, I need help," and he grabs a stuffed animal and the little toy gun. He says, "We gotta go save her." It's adorable. Great bit. It didn't make sense in the story for an iota of a moment, but it was a great bit. If you just take these things like skits
You keep
within a
saying
movie.
Anne. I'm just like, why is she cleaning the blood up off the floor? Why? Why'd you even do it? And like, why didn't you ask a question about it? Like, it's just normal to you?
Okay. Uh,
No, okay. There's nothing okay about this.
um,
What did Fulci
her.
say about that?
I don't. I think they just skated over that. They like recognized that it was like an issue that this movie had, and they just kind of kept going because. So you almost certainly already know the scene we're talking about if you watch this film. It's this when Anne is cleaning the blood
The
from.
realtor comes over to visit and has a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's blood all over the kitchen floor leading to the basement, and Anna's just cleaning it up. She's just cleaning it up. She's not a maid, from what I understand. She's not a housekeeper, from what I understand. She's a babysitter. But she's like, yeah, the blood, you got to get rid of that, which is, to be fair, a good choice.
She's got that stare though, like that. What do they call it? Fluoride stare. You know, the Gen Z stare. Just she's talking to her, she's just staring at her, empty eyed, and you're like, is she possessed or something? And then it just turns out no. She just like, just no.
That thread. Okay. Oh, real quick, let me finish the scene we're talking about. Because okay, so they're wiping up the blood, and Lucy, the mom, comes into the kitchen, and she goes, "What are you doing?" And Anne says, "Yeah, we've made coffee." And they don't. Nothing is ever like, they just move past it. And
She's
see, so
wringing
that's
out a bloody rag. You know,
a gigantic trail of blood. Like that's a dead person for sure. Like
or like you slit a pig in your house or something like worth asking questions about.
yeah, right? Because like the
If I
only
walked into
other
your house,
answer.
Nick, and there was a trail of blood, I'd be like, "What? Are we okay?" You know.
And I would tell you that, yeah, well, your husband just got bit by a bat, so it must be that, um, because
It's
there's
one
a
of my
bat in
favorite
the
scenes
cellar.
of the movie.
It's
It's in my
so
top three. Okay, keep
the
going.
reason
I'm gonna go off
the
track
reason
if
I
you don't
bring up
stop
that
me.
scene, yeah, no, that's okay. The reason I bring up that scene is because simply that's the level of story you get, right? Like it's not here to like really explain things that make sense in a sensical way. It's really just to show you things. Um,
Then why even bother cleaning up the blood? Just
they really
pretend
didn't
it
need
went
to.
away.
If they could have cut like another like 30 seconds from the movie to get rid of that blood scene, they probably should have. Um, the okay, going back to the Gen Z stare,
Sorry.
the whole Anne stare thing, because this was what felt like a large part of the movie to me, and then just never, it was never acted upon. It was never. I have questions that are never going to be answered. Um,
She dies
Lucy,
just like the rest of them.
Lucy, Norman, and Anne all have this thing that whenever they're in a room together, they like to do shifty eyes. They just stare at each other like very menacingly, and it like zooms in on their eyes, so it makes a very clear point to do it. And the shots look wonderful. So Fulci, good job on getting eye shots. So you did a great job there. But the question becomes: I thought like for sure that they were gaslighting Lucy into like having stronger mental health issues and then gonna blame her or something, like this was gonna go somewhere, or that like Norman and Anne were having an affair because Norman seemed to know Anne and Lucy didn't, but was expecting Anne. Anything, really,
Yeah,
anything.
her husband, I kind of got the feeling that he was like pushing her off the deep end, right? Like, but I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
why. And he was talking about how, his friend had an affair with his wife, or whatever, had an affair on his wife with the girl, and was that
Mm-hmm.
Anne? And like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
see, so like, see, we were on the same path with this because I was feeling the same way. Like that was for sure what was going to
And
happen,
now
right?
she's some sort of black widow, and now he's gonna hook up with her, and wife's gonna get fed to basement grandpa, and
And if that was her grandpa, can you think about how much better the story would have gotten immediately? Um, but it wasn't. So it turns out it just was no relation. She was just a babysitter. The whole thing in the beginning wasn't like
Psycho
some
Manus just
crazy
lives
like,
in the basement.
yeah, exactly. And she just happens to also go down and get her head chopped off very nonchalantly. Um, no, not nonchalantly. That was a great scene. It was a crazy scene.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, that whole thing. Because I wrote in here as I was watching the movie, one of the themes is the distrust between the man and the wife. And then I realized as I was watching it, that's not really a theme of this movie. That was just a thing that was happening. Very, very, very boomer behavior going on between the two of them.
A 70s way of treating your significant other. Yeah.
Yeah, just why are you mad? Get some medicines.
Take
This
these
house is
pills.
creepy.
Take
Get
these
some
pills and
medicine.
go to bed. How dare you worry?
He gets mad at her at some point. She's like,
I
I don't.
know.
She's like crying. She's like, I don't want to stay here. He's like, oh God, damn it.
It's gonna make everything so difficult.
I need to go to the library for 8 hours now. Okay, see ya.
Enjoy staying in Hell House.
Yeah. Like, and this happens a few different times. Like when she's standing on the side of the road and he's driving by and she sees her
I
car, and
gotta go to New York.
she's like, Norman. And she sees the car driver by, like, there must be a point to this, right? Like she's gonna now not trust him or something, but there just wasn't. There just didn't end up being one.
And
And
that's the entirety of the story.
that's the
And
entirety of the
everybody
story.
dies.
Or gets pulled into the beyond.
No, that's dying, isn't it?
Not according to Fulci. 30 years later, 10 years later. Anyway, not important. You've heard what we have to
I
say
think
about this.
if I
Let's move
thought
on.
about it for 10 years too, I might come up with something that creative. But
That's
I watched the movie.
that after 10 years, that's the best he could come up with, is something that still doesn't really make sense. Come on,
He went
Fulci.
over it 100 times in his head too. He's like, just something smart, other than it's Italian horror, and they're all great, right? If Quentin Tarantino heard this review right now, he would be lambed. He would hate us so bad. He loves
Oh, he
Fulci
probably hates us
so
so bad,
much.
anyways.
Um,
And he should. He should. I'm not here to hate on Fulci
no,
for
he
these
says the story's
reasons.
amazing for this movie. I checked out a couple other people's reviews just to try to get like a feel on like were other people as confused as me, and I would say every normal human being, yes, but Tarantino's like pretending like he knew what was going on,
Yeah.
but he's
Well,
not going to share it with you,
no.
right?
No. Well, the crazy part about it is Fulci basically said himself that it was just a series of things to show off next, parts of the movie. The story didn't even matter. It was just like to get me to the next imagery, because what I'm showing people is the imagery, but Americans apparently don't understand it. But Quinn's like, I got you, and I even know what you actually really meant. Trust me, man.
Yeah. Well, for those of you out there that haven't dove into Italian media, especially horror, before, there's the parts to it, right? This movie, how long do we make it? And it only once, but to get to get a chest on the box art, you have to show a naked woman at least once in the movie. So he gets that shoehorned in about 10 seconds into the film.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only nudity in the film. But I did look at the box art, and it does have that on it. So it's just that style of movie. There's extremism for the point of being extreme. They're trying to draw on a certain audience, and I think if you try to think too deeply about the story, you probably are missing the point.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's
I've
kind of
watched a lot
similar.
of movies where, like, if you try to truly understand the movie, you're like missing the point.
With Fulci, like if you like Fulci, you're gonna like this, I think, regardless, because the story is pretty similar in like all the Fulci movies. It only kind of hardly makes sense. They're like, yeah, there's a gateway to the beyond underneath this hotel, and to get there, you have to open up. Who cares, man? Here's some
Well, he
gore.
did, he also did say that this was his version of The Shining, right? So that he was loosely going off of that like idea or that story as well with this, which makes kind of sense. But more like the house driving the original occupant to madness. I don't know.
Eh, which is
It felt
good.
it felt
And
Frankenstein-y, right?
he,
Freudstein, Frankenstein, the guy's rebuilding himself out of other people's body parts. Like it felt like that to me in the story department. It felt like The Shining a little bit in the story department. It felt like Reanimator a lot in the story department, like the same idea of like organic mechanic kind of stuff, and like, um, so I think I would guess that he probably took a little bit from all of those because those were all like really popular movies or tropes at the time.
and he just kind of adapted it to fit his Beyond trilogy, which is a very loosely story based. There's lore there that you can look into, and it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's not portrayed as well in the films nearly at all. I love the film City of the Living Dead, and if I told you that I understood the story of it, even after watching it like 4 or 5 times, I'd be lying to you. It's like
No,
cool Dracula
it's
looking
just
dude
cool to
shows up and makes
watch.
him vomit their insides out, and that's the thing. And I'm like, that's awesome. This is great. So
My notes for this movie are a lot of like, how cool is this? Like, how cool is that?
save. I also wrote that there's no way everyone in that family didn't just already have rabies after the bad attack. Because like the only one who didn't get bit was the kid, and it showed the Dr. Norman like wiping his blood straight into the kid's mouth on accident. He like whips his hand off, and the blood
One,
sprays all over the
how
kid.
did the bat get into the basement? The basement is hard sealed. There's no way. There's no windows. There's nothing. And one, how did it get in there? Two, why is it so big? Good lord, that thing is the size of a small dog. When he's winging it around the room, and I was laughing so,
Yeah,
and Deb
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"What are you
Mm-hmm.
watching?" And I'm like, "Show her." And she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "No, seriously, this is hilarious.
the,
Fantastic acting."
when he's got the I forget if there's scissors or a knife. I think it's the
It
scissors,
goes
and he just goes straight down, and it's just like, dude, come on, guys, and it works perfectly for him though. So good
oh,
for him, I guess. But
awesome is what it was.
I was
The
it's like
huge
every
fan.
part of this is probably the worst way to do the thing that you could have chose. It really. Oh, oh, let's talk about the acting. Let's talk about the acting of the characters. Let's move on. Let's move on to the acting. So the story is not really the whole thing. So the acting is.
Yeah,
Can we do
it's
it?
more
Can
of a
we do
character study, right?
right? Because like I don't actually. Let's see if I can do this. I'm doing some shenanigans with my camera in case you guys are wondering what's happening and you're hearing this.
That's it. That's a character study.
Zoom in on my eyeballs. I get it. I'm looking at you a certain way. I'm gonna look shifty. I'm looking around like I've done
Yeah.
something wrong or someone's done something wrong in this whole entire house. And then at the end, we find out everything's normal. No one's done anything wrong. It's fine. We're good.
I liked that. We should do
No.
the whole podcast like that. Just eyes.
Just eyeballs. Just zoom in on the eyes and see how they
Eyes
work.
eyes only reviews.
And the reasoning for that would be more in depth than the reasoning for zooming in on all the eyes here.
It
So
showed intent.
I showed intent. So okay, I'm gonna get the elephant in the room just out of the way here. Bob's overdub voice and how much people hate it.
That is one
I
of my things you may not know about this movie is Bob and his voice.
so I'm gonna say the funnest part of this film for me. All right,
Bob's awesome.
and it is in relation to this because the dubbing is an important part of this movie.
Yeah.
What is kind of crazy about this whole movie is that it was shot in English and then overdubbed again in English.
Yep.
They're like, you may think like, oh, they're Italian, is an Italian director, an Italian actor. No, it didn't matter. He shot the whole thing in English and decided to use the overdub, and you can only guess that that's because the acting must have been phenomenal beforehand, and he could not deal with that. So he needed to get that level of
And so Bob wasn't even played by a child. The voice was a woman.
the voice is a woman. He decided he
Same
wanted to go
way
the
it
whole.
did Bart Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding, but kind
No,
of.
but that's what it made me think of. But so everyone's like, his voice is super grating. It's awful. And realistically, I think that once again with the Fulci movies, like, acting isn't meant to be believable. It's just kind of meant to move along these scenes.
I honestly thought it was charming.
I didn't look.
I
I was actually.
love things like that. Why the amount of overworking that was done on that just to come up
Mhm.
with that? That is art, brother. This is what I call art. Like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you made that choice. Like, I love that for the movie because you're like, here is just a cheese grater, like, to destroy my story with, and I'm just gonna hand it to you. Thank you. Like, awesome. Like, I can laugh. You've
Well,
made it okay for me to laugh at your movie.
see, when you put it that way, it's almost like the palette of the movie, the sonic palette of the movie, whatever the heck that means. Who knows? It's like almost made to bring you in on the tension, right? Like, I could imagine David Lynch did that a lot with his films. It was just a soundscape made to make you feel tension, right? So if you wanted to feel tension at this point, you'd have weird, nasty noises going on in the background. And maybe this is like, yeah, well, their voices are all going to be a little off, and that's going to make you feel
They
like
knew
things are a
who
little
their
off.
audience was. They gave you nudity and murder in the first 30 seconds of the movie and then went on to tell the story normally. They showed you the end of the movie at the beginning to hook
Yeah.
you. So they knew who they were making the movie for. Let's not pretend like they were making it for a film crowd, like a Cannes Film Festival,
I, I'm not the one pretending, Adam. Fulci is the one pretending. I've read his interviews now. I do understand where he was coming from.
Zombie's
uh,
a good movie.
Zombie is a good movie. Hey, I maintain the fact that, like, City of the Living Dead and Zombie 2 even are phenomenal films. The Beyond is good as well.
Hmm.
It's not because of the acting or the stories. We're getting the tough stuff out of the way. I've said in the last
Acting. We
podcast.
were on acting. Bob's good though. Yeah.
I think so. I think physically they all do pretty well. Like, they've got some tropes, and it feels a little bit like old school acting at times with how with their physicality to it. But this is an '81 movie shot with Italian actors. That doesn't shock me, and it feels like fitting for the sort of movie they're watching. Because when they're with Dr. Freudstein, everyone kind of looks like they're in a '50s horror movie, right? Everyone's like, oh no, except for the gut stab. That was pretty cool. But other than that, I don't have a lot, and it's hard for me to judge movies with overdubbings because the vocal acting is always kind of off because they're not there, and you can always feel that. So, like, physical acting, I'm fine with what happened and what was portrayed there. I thought they all did actually a pretty darn good job with the understanding that it's an older film and that it doesn't look the same as movies do now.
no, I thought it was great. Um,
Yeah,
I won't be saying anything about the actors because I don't believe acting is being overdubbed. Like, maybe if I would have watched an Italian or the Italian version was because I watched like the uncut uned. Like, I wanted the right one, but it didn't. I couldn't find the Italian version.
but it's filmed in English.
I understand, but I wanted to hear the words coming out of their mouths,
No,
right?
but they were speaking English when they were filming the movie, Adam.
No, no, I understand that, but we watched the
You
version that they
still,
dubbed over the English with English, right?
I
I,
get
I
you. I
wanted
get
the
you.
original English, like when them speaking English,
I know. Oh, yeah.
like because I know for a fact that the actor has an Italian accent, right? Like,
Like, Norman, you don't sound American enough. You don't sound like you're from New York. I know, but okay, wait. I should. I
how
can't
dare you?
verify whether or not they're from The Sopranos. I don't want to offend the Italian listeners here. I'm sorry, Italian listeners. It's fun. That's why I'll say it. It's not a good excuse, I know. Anyway, we're moving on from that. Yeah, so I agree. The overdubbing, you can't hate on it too much because
No,
overdubbing
you'd
is
be
just
like
like,
asking me how was the acting in Cars. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. We'll talk more about sound later because the overdubbing had a couple issues.
No, it
Um,
didn't.
Oh, it did. It had one that was bugging me the heck out of me. But we'll talk about it later because it's really not that important. So instead, we're gonna
The
zoom past the
vehicles of
acting.
the characters were fine. The children were better than fine. They were almost good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the feeling of stress and being scared by both of the actresses felt realistic.
Mm-hmm.
The crying, the terror, all seemed horror realistic. Like corny, but whatever. Um, and the guys just I don't think there's a lot of meat on that bone to get like really creative with that part, but he seemed to be fine.
He was along the lines of the giallo actors of the time. He was like this guy who was there, like looked like a cool professor dude,
Yeah,
and that was his whole shtick.
right,
Looked like cool
right,
professor dude.
right.
I agree. I think if you were like a person who was like deaf or hard of hearing, and you were watching this movie without being able to hear it, you would think the acting was great. Um,
Right.
and that's fine. You can't overdubs are so hard. We talked about this in our last podcast because me and Jadis did the Last Supper before this, which was also overdubbed, and the overdub was awful, but the physical acting was good. What can you do? I agree with what you're saying 100%. Just give me the people's voices. I don't care what they sound about. It's so much easier to suspend disbelief when I can hear someone talking than it is to
Right.
suspend disbelief because
I
they
won't
have no
hear your
accent.
voice echoing off the walls of the place that you're in when it's not, and
Mm-hmm.
your voice isn't interacting with the environment that you're in. I can really tell, and it really makes it hard for me to pay attention.
The best voice actors that you can get at this money range, at least at the very least, they don't know how to act with the physicality that the actors do. I mean, like physicality changes the timbre of your voice.
Right.
Like talk to a human in real life who's trying to do
These people
anything,
were
and you'll know that.
obviously standing in a booth, not running around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And whoever they had doing the child crying needs to stop doing the child crying. Please, God, stop.
You loved it.
I didn't. It scared me a couple times that my kid
I'll
was
put it
awake,
on
and then one of the
loop.
times the kid was awake.
I had my headphones on, right, like listening to this, and I thought it was Sal like 10 times.
Yeah, so so much. I was like, did he wake up? Because
It's like people that put doorbells and knocking on the door and sirens and things. Stop it. I
don't
don't.
do it.
My heart doesn't want it.
No,
I'd much
this is
rather you
actually
just put a knife through somebody's head. Don't ring a doorbell.
yeah. That gives the credence to the idea that Fulci was just like really hating being a dad at the time, and he's like, this is my representation of that. We should make a better
I
story
think
than
he
what
was
we
in a
got.
pretty dark place after this movie. But around this time is when his wife died. His first wife died of cancer.
Brutal.
So I think he was just in a really dark place.
Okay, let's move on because the acting. I think we said all we need to say about the acting in this movie. Or the real meat is coming up
People
for the
show
bone
up and
later.
they're not weird.
Yes. Well, no. 5 things you likely did not know. Okay, I'll start off here. Um, for number one, this is the third part, the final part of Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy.
It
So we
is.
mentioned this beforehand. If you are looking for the other two films are City of the Living Dead is the first part, and The Beyond is the second part. This one finishes it, and that is the whole Gates of Hell trilogy. They are all vaguely related to a place called The Beyond, and they all deal with death, coming back from the dead, and how the afterlife works in very, very, very vague meanings.
Yeah. Fulci
That
explicitly resisted giving Freudstein a clear origin, but the early script notes had Nazi medical experimentation, right? Necromancy, right? That makes sense. A cursed surgeon prolonging life via gland extraction.
let's sit here for a second.
I know. All
Um,
any one of these into the movie makes it a better movie.
I was gonna like, what if
They're all great. Pick one.
Anne is actually Mary And Freudstein. This is where my mind is going to.
Frankenfreud.
Is Anne was the reincarnation of Mary Ann, and she was bringing the family to Dr. Freudstein.
Mm.
Can you imagine that movie? That
The
would have worked
guy in
so
the
well.
basement also had that feeling. Did you ever see Hellboy?
Mm.
They have a mechanical man, the Nazis do, and it's clockwork, like a clockwork man, but he moves and looks just like that guy. And it was kind of like that Nazi medical experimentation,
Okay.
angle, or like, Ilsa of the SS, if you've seen that, or things like that. Necromancy seems like, that's easy. But at the time, necromancy and zombies and stuff was still kind of hot, you
Yeah.
know. It had that
Yeah.
resurgence. It was really hot in, like, what, the 40s?
When did Day of the Dead come out? Because I feel like that one kind of like real kicked it back.
73 or 4. I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but
You can't just Google Day of the Dead immediately because
68.
that's the whole thing. 85. So that was after this.
What I'm thinking of is the Return of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the Living Dead, or whatever one it was. The one that's open source now, kind of set off the
The
whole,
Night of the Living Dead.
kind of movement of making zombie films, and they seem to stay really popular through like the mid '80s and didn't really make a comeback till I guess the early 2000s. Huh?
And it's crazy because zombies stuff is still so alive, but in different medias now. Like it's fallen off of the
Oh, it took
movies
off
because
again, brother. Like we
yeah,
got, like Resident Evil was kind of like, I love Resident Evil, but I know how people feel about it. But we got like that for a while, and then Danny Boyle did his thing, and then all of a sudden it's like everything, like every video game and The Walking Dead and like the whole thing, right? It's been
mm-hmm,
zombies ever
mm-hmm.
since then. But there was definitely a stretch of a lot of European films about zombies, but this idea of the living dead really was like, there was like 5 years of such good movies coming out, this being one of them. But it just didn't feel undead to me at all, like a zombie at all,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
because
The
the way he looks, like the gland extraction stuff, like if what I pulled and this is out of his mouth and on his script, a cursed surgeon prolong his life via gland extraction, give it to me.
Well, and I think that like they didn't explicitly make it that, but I think that it ends up kind of being that just based on some of the dialogue they insert in here because it doesn't make the dialogue didn't really make sense except for you just accepted it because he looks freaky and that
Right,
has to be what he's doing because they he eats us to stay young.
right.
I forget who said that, but that's the only thing that made sense at this point, and they didn't explain it because the answer to what they actually chose was nothing.
Nothing.
He's just
Correct.
there.
Yeah,
He just exists. So
he's the creepy crawly. But yeah, so that's something you probably don't know about the movie. But those
uh,
script notes, those were the thoughts. Would have been cool.
yeah. Giovanni Freza. I wanted to say that way. If I mispronounced it, I'm sorry. Was only 8 years old when he was cast as Bob in this movie. So they submitted an 8-year-old to the horrors and trauma of a Fulci film and everything that incurs. Which Fulci is easily one of the, in my opinion, at the very least, best special effects and gore creators of that time. Um, and it's not like they went really like soft and easy in the scenes that Bob was in.
No, no, he goes down to the whole like cutting floor room, like more
Mm-hmm.
guts hanging everywhere, and then he gets to watch his babysitter's head bounce down the stairs. And
It's pretty
no,
brutal
they didn't
stuff.
take it easy on old Bob.
No, I did feel a little bit for this child actor after watching some of it because I'm like, man, I don't know, like children actors are pretty resilient, but like, wow, they're showing them a lot of really gruesome looking stuff. He did end up remaining as an actor, and from my understanding, based on what I've read on forums, he does adult films now. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Great.
I'm now meaning like
Here's
whenever
something
that post was
about
made.
Bob. We know his voice was terrible in the movie, right?
Oh,
Fulci
sure.
insisted that it stayed that way. And during early screenings, people said, "Hey, this is terrible." Fulci's like, "We're in." Um, The actress that played it was instructed to speak too clearly, over enunciate, sound emotionally off. That was the notes for the actress.
When,
Well, she wanted Bob to sound like an alien in his own family, reinforcing that children in his films are out of sync with reality.
so yeah, because when you think of an 8-year-old, you definitely think enunciating perfectly,
He did, though.
speaking too clearly.
He did.
Um, it didn't feel like it was out of place for me. That the hard part with this is it says reinforcing that children are out of sync with reality, but
That's kind of like
unfortunately,
his whole thing with this movie. Like he keeps coming back to, right? Is these kids are the ones that are a part of a different place, right? A different that the kids are actually the
mhm,
monsters,
mhm.
right? Like
I can understand it for one reason is that the kids. No, this is my experience as a dad. Like I could, you could have tapped into this, I think, even better than he did, right? Because I'm like, with this, the kids and them being emotionally off and alien, it's like, well, yeah, the stuff that's happening and impacting the overall family doesn't seem to matter at all to the kids. The kids aren't worried about it for a second. If you're
no,
freaking out about something in real world life, they're just like, okay, but I'm doing this thing over here, so leave me alone.
right?
And that is kind of alien. That is a little bit uncaring. That is like monster like qualities if you apply them to an adult with better understanding of the world.
Children lack, and this is like for all parents out there. Children lack context, and until you give it to them, sometimes some of the things they do might seem strange or off-putting or alien because they don't have context for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Exactly. It's
know
like
us growing up with like everything online and everything in our face, and like context is like king for everything. Like you have to know the context. Like things are really confusing in this world. And kids are just a fresh hard drive, man. They don't know.
like yeah, this is true. This is absolutely the truth. They're like what anyway. I won't go off on a tangent too much about what kids watch. But it's so funny because the
Not
Bob
my kid.
voiceover, I hear it over and over and over again, just like how bad Bob's voiceover is. And it's hilarious because I didn't think that once during the movie. It wasn't even on my mind. I didn't even care. I was like, yeah,
Super obvious, but I liked it.
like the weirdness is okay. It didn't feel off when
Felt
you
like a puppet
overdub.
with the wrong voice coming out of it, and I liked it. I like
Let's
things
see,
like that, though. This
in
movie
that,
was trying to bring a sense of the chaotic and the yeah. So why not mix it
yeah,
up?
yeah,
His voice with that soundtrack going off in the background. Yes, please. I'll listen. I
right.
will listen to that soundtrack all day. That soundtrack. Well, I know we're going to talk about it. That soundtrack is sick.
We will too. Here I'll give
The
my number 5 real quick.
Tangerine Dream levels of awesome.
It is pretty rad. Though the final line, no one will ever know whether the children are monsters or the monsters are children, is attributed to someone named Henry James. Um, he didn't write that. He didn't say that. It was completely fabricated by Lucio Fulci.
So it's like the Michael Scott thing, but instead it's like Henry James dash Lucy Fulci. And
yeah,
now on this you put dash Nick after it, so now you're a part of it.
yes, perfect. I will join in this chain, please. Thank you very much. I just love it because who's watched this movie going like, oh, Henry James said that? Oh my gosh, I never would have
Bro,
guessed.
Henry James.
Henry James, king of the two first names,
Nobody would
said that.
believe me if I said this. It's too deep. I have to make up somebody to have said it.
It wasn't about like gore or anything, so people aren't listening. Okay, I did have Henry James was a person who existed in New York. Um and he was a writer in movies.
I bet you
He
there's
wrote
lots of
a
people
bunch of
like Henry
stories.
James.
Yeah, but exactly. I don't really know that I trust that this is the same Henry James, but if so, he died in 1916. So there you go, everybody. Enjoy that little piece. You'll think about it later at some point.
1916, and he didn't say this.
He for sure. He wrote a lot of things, but not that. Not that one. Okay, now we get to move on to the fun part of this movie.
Yeah.
We get to talk about cinematography and creativity. Because okay, I was talking
It's
to
a
Adam before
Fulci
this part.
movie. This is what you watch it for.
Mhm.
This is the meat
So
and potatoes.
I was talking to Adam a little bit about it before. Like this movie feels like it's a little less action packed than the other Fulci films. Like there's a lot more moments in between the deaths and killings, and the killings don't take place in such a large scale as they do in his other films. However, one thing I want to get out of the way on this film, particularly early on, is that the level of cinematography and the shots that they create in this film, you can tell that this is one of the movies that is further on in Fulci's career. It's like he has mastered kind of the sense of photography
Yeah.
as an element of his film. And I'm going to talk more about gore after this, but I wanted to get that out of the way. That I think some of the shots in this movie are just phenomenal looking. Um, the little girl holding her doll with Marianne behind her in the woods, with the name of the place on it, where it was
Right.
giving you your location setting, looked just like something Wes Anderson would make now. And this is a movie from 1981 by an Italian director who was known for his special effects. To achieve that kind of level of like one frame, single frame art photography is really good. So I was really impressed by the actual cinematography in this film.
Yep.
Just past it being a crazy one, it's a really pretty looking movie.
That I would say is one of the big, when you're looking at older horror like this, the Italian directors, especially one they got good, really had an eye for
Mm-hmm.
building a set and really had an eye for putting lighting and I don't know that there was like a scene in this movie where I was like where it felt out of place necessarily. Like everything flowed together so well from New York to the house. Obviously, the basement was its own thing that we'll talk about, but no, gorgeous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just eye candy the whole time, and everything. It felt cold and it felt like it's fall and it felt like the movie elicited emotions and responses from me, and that's how you know they did a really good job.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's wet and chilly, and Bob's out playing by the tombstone again.
He's just talking to the air once more. Yeah, I loved the way the house was set up because it was magnified when Bob was running away from Anne, or not
It
really
feels
running away from
so
Anne.
much bigger inside
Yes,
than it does on the
yes,
outside.
and it was maze like. You couldn't tell what room people were entering at any point or where it was going, and you you don't see that used a ton.
When I was a kid, we had a really old house, and that's how it was. The whole house was built around the center, right? Because you'd have the
Mhm.
fireplace in the center to create heat, so all the rooms were around that. So it was like you could walk a circle around the house.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's very similar, and I loved it when he was chasing his little toy car, and then Anne was looking for him, and Anne ends up in the basement, whereas the kid never even went to the basement
No,
because
he's outside being a bad boy.
yeah, time was like his voice was just traveling, and he was just going through the maze of rooms, and you think something bad's gonna happen to Bob. That was again
I thought she was coming to get
clever
Bob.
moments. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yep.
And then she ends up in the basement, and we find out that she's not coming to get Bob. As a matter of fact, she has been duped into ending up in the basement.
Hmm.
Which then leads
And
to
he goes, "You
we'll
have a
talk
pretty."
about
The line he says, "You have a pretty head. I'll think I'll take it." Like that's funny.
later. Yeah. The effects of her. So there are two deaths that really really got me, and it was her getting her throat cut at first. Like the head comes off, but that's not even the part. The throat cuts were brutal. Um, and the stabbings of the real
I
estate agent.
think as a person who would be a self-described expert at these sort of things, because
Okay,
this is
okay,
my
okay.
wheelhouse of look behind me. This is my entertainment, right? Perf. You want your gore to be outrageous
Mm-hmm.
at the same time not believable, right? You don't want
Mm-hmm.
to really creep people. Like, you don't want people getting decapitated by a fish tank. That hurts. That's bad. It makes you. But, like, when he's poking her with the fire poker, right?
Oh,
The
it's
real estate
so.
agent lady, and you watch it, like, bury into her. you're seeing this idea of supernatural strength, right? Because obviously somebody can't poke a poker into somebody like that. Obviously somebody can't grab you by the Fulci like to do the grab you by the back of the head and pull your brain out move.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um it for me it rode that perfect line of not scary. Like I wasn't worried about these people, but the special effects were like great. Like I was the way he used the skin to move for the poker to show penetration, the way the neck opens up. I didn't like the neck hole necessarily because you could physically see the circle that they're like the tubing pipe that they were shooting the blood out of. Like that was, but it's things like that that take me out of it enough to where I don't feel icky about watching it. Yeah.
See, it's crazy because I thought the little circle, the way it ended up with the blood coming out, the blood coming out was the most silly part to me. I thought the little circle looks pretty similar to how a little
Oh, that was
circle
just
would
a
look.
piece of tubing.
Oh, totally. But like when you get stabbed by a circle, it comes out as a
A
circle.
perfect circle because your skin tears in a perfect circle.
If you have superhuman strength, as we've seen, you know.
It was great. All of those practical effects were great. Um, that the butchery in the basement, so
Mhm.
good. It's like I heard in my head. Did you play Diablo 2 when you were younger?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You get to the butcher the first time, he goes fresh meat, and he starts chasing you. That's what it reminded me of. When that door flung open and Bob's there, I just hear fresh meat. That guy's coming. They chop his arm off.
Oh man, yeah.
Also, I'm going to talk about it later, but like when he stabs the guy, and instead of blood coming out, it's worms and maggots, and like, dude, that's so good. I love things like that.
That
Like he's
that
full of
first
stuffing that's just worms and maggots. I'm like, awesome. And then I'm like, but why is his arm bleeding then? I,
that well, the first time they stab him, right? Because the second time it's just pure maggots. The first time that they stab him, it definitely looks like poop coming out of him with
it's like
maggots in
worm.
it.
Like go back and look because I did. I stopped it and I like it's like earthworms with maggots
Yeah,
in it.
okay, okay.
So it's got that
That
brown poopy look to it. But it's like
and,
it's
and that
great.
tracks with Fulci in general. Like he loves using
He likes
worms.
earthworms. Yeah.
Yeah, he
For
really
anybody
does.
that doesn't know, people have had earthworms in their mouths thanks to this man many times.
Yes, there wasn't exactly like the level of over the top that his other films reached. Like I didn't see anything like a giant tarantula attack.
When he kills the husband with the grasp, is that
Yeah.
was about as over the top as it got, and his other movies have that 20 times in a row where people are
Hmm.
just reaching through skin and grabbing vital organs. So it's yeah.
When I compare it to his other films directly, this is an unfair comparison, but like nothing reaches like the highs that I got in City of the Living Dead, right? But at the same point, if you're looking at this film, which seems to be a much smaller scale and more intimate, everything that is there. I want to say appropriately, not by story, but by like scale of the effect, and it works for me.
Yeah.
I was genuinely very impressed, as I always seem to be whenever I watch Fulci, just like at the level of what he's able to
He
create, because
would
it's
be
not
because his
perfect.
practical effects crew is the same on all of the movies, right? It's the
Hmm.
same guys. They're all awesome.
Yeah, they're
He
they're
had a
great at what
great
they do.
crew of special effects
Hmm.
guys.
They were willing to try some crazy stuff, but they were like, "Yeah, let's throw as much blood as it at it as you want, and sure, rip off whatever you want too. That's fine. Like let's go for it."
Yep. Yep. It was
Uh,
great. And I loved stuff like that, even the bat scene, with cinematography, like the chaos and the running around the room and him swinging his arm like a wild man, and they had like stapled a plastic bat on the back of his hand, and like I was laughing, but I was having the best time. Like I love stuff like that. More stuff like that. Yes, I know it's obviously fake. No, the whole movie's fake, genius. Like
dude, and
just
like
enjoy it for what it is.
if you think about what like films had gone through, especially Italian films after something like Cannibal Holocaust, they had to make the animal death extremely fake. They can't go through that again. That guy almost got arrested for killing a turtle.
So everybody knows there was a dog scene that he did with dog murder, and they used they weren't dogs, they were puppets and they were statues of dogs, but like everybody thought that he really killed dogs, and like it turned into a whole thing, and like it was just great special effects, you know. But like that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of at the age when like animal cruelty was being brought to light in movies. I think it really came to a head with like Milo and Otis, actually, because they threw a cat off a cliff like 20 times. um but like, you love that. Look
Milo
at
and
you
Otis.
smiling,
That's
how dare you.
well. It's just like the choice that it's a kids movie that, of course, is going to get him in trouble. That's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Well, it was filmed in a different country, and that orange cat, when it like flies into the ocean and jumps off that cliff, like that was real.
The cat that they clearly chose because it was so adorable and
And
sweet.
they just kept hucking it off that cliff.
Yeah. Oh well, I do think
And
like
so, like,
cannibal.
great.
Yeah.
Don't let people do anything to hurt anyone or any
Mm-hmm.
animal in
Mm-hmm.
movies, please. I would say that worms and maggots were harmed in the making of this film, though.
Yeah. Well, there. You know, I would ask PETA about this. What is the line? They would tell me there's no line.
I would think
Eh,
that there isn't one.
Yeah. Well, you know. I do want to put. Yeah, my thought was that Cannibal Holocaust came out the year before this, 1980, right? So
Yeah.
very, also a lot of Italians involved in that one. And
When
again,
did
they.
Ferox come out?
Oh, I don't know off the top of
That
my
was a little before that,
head.
too, right?
No, 83
Okay.
apparently.
Okay.
So right afterwards, but or 81, depending on what website you
They
believe.
were so like close to each other and like
Yeah,
content, though.
yeah, and so
So
you
Ferox
had.
copied then.
Yeah, and so you had in these movies, there was really animals hurt, right, and they suffered greatly from that backlash from not only animal rights activists, but everyone who watched the films and saw the animals get hurt, because that turtle scene has got to be one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in film. And I don't mean that in like, this isn't a complimentary way of me saying it is brutal, because there's
It's
real pain
absolute
happening.
garbage, and the people that did it are trash. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame, because there's some good ideas in that film that are ruined by real pain.
Milo and Otis used to be one of my favorite movies of all time when I was
It's
a kid and I didn't know any better.
it's so unfortunate that
Wanna
this is
take a
what the people
walk
did.
outside today? Gonna see what we can find today. Throw the cat in the river. Here we go. Do. Dudley Moore's here.
You have all these abilities, you have all these tools at your disposal, you have like all these like magical tricks you can do with cameras, and they're like, well, the easiest thing is to just actually throw it. Whoever is doing that, you know who you are. Shouldn't have did that. That's easy enough.
Should be
Oh, anyway, okay.
forever. How dare you?
The cinematography and creativity, we'll go back to that for a moment, because I do also want to talk
I'm
about.
an otter. I do cute little human things with my hand. You're free to go. What are you? I'm a cow. You're a baseball glove. Get on the truck.
That's what you're for. The eyeballs in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the eyeballs in the dark. That is such good aesthetic. I mean, it is such a simple scene. You've seen it in.
Out of the fantastic haunted house carnival ride, the eyes that light up in the dark, or if anybody is from the Oregon area, we have this place called the Enchanted Forest.
Yep.
I promise you, it's those exact same eyeballs that light up in the hall there. They are fantastic, and they around the room.
And if you haven't been there, like, or then even just think Scooby Doo. It's that simple, right? It's just eyeballs lighting up in the dark, and it doesn't really make sense in the context of what this movie truly is, like, at all. Like, don't think about it too hard, but it looks so cool. When Anne is in the basement, I think it's Anne who sees the eyes at the time.
Bob.
Okay, when Bob is in the basement, the eyes start moving.
Oh no, that's right.
They
go down the first time, but Bob sees him the first time. Nobody else sees him.
Right, okay.
And it was Bob trapped down there, because that's when he really freaks out and runs up the stairs, is when he sees him like the 4 times popping up around the room.
Just popping up.
And let's make it clear that the bad guy in this movie does not have eyeballs.
His eyes are they're floating ghost eyes.
Imagine the scene in Beetlejuice when the face gets stretched out. That's what his face looks like. There's no eyeballs. It's all just skin.
It's like loose, saggy skin.
These eyeballs are very normally spaced and very obviously human, but orange.
Yeah, and lit up.
We never know whose eyes they were.
No, but it works for me on the same level that like Pazuzu's face in The Exorcist works, right? Because it just pops up, and it got me really on that same level. Whereas like I haven't been scared of a movie in a long time, but I could see this like having that same like level of effect if you were like, oh no.
I was laughing so hard.
I get
I
that,
was
but it
just
was
cracking up.
so
I was like, this is
cool.
so good. It's like riding a roller coaster for me, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, show me something ridiculous, please. And it's just like, "Dah," and Bob's just like, "No," and it's like, bro, it's just eyeballs in a basement. This is totally normal. Like,
I just love
and
to
that
think it.
overdubbed screaming, how that screaming would sound in that basement, in that space, compared to
Oh
the
man.
sound that actually comes out. It sounds like somebody screaming in a sound booth. It's just like, it 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 put me back like what I said, fantastic haunted house, like riding that little cart through the thing. Like that's how I felt watching it. I was like, oh no, run, Bob.
You gotta get out of there.
Before we go.
And then they throw the head down.
I
Here's
did
that.
like the use, and I don't know if they did the sound for it. Me and you have house arguments now, but the metal stairs, nice touch. The sound the metal stairs made, them not being
When
wooden stairs. They're like, you know what I'm saying. The
yeah,
head
yeah.
goes down and go thump, thump,
When they're
thump,
pulling Lucy down and every step she's hitting it like very, very soft hits.
sloshily.
Yeah. And that's what happens to Lucy, right? She just hits her head a whole bunch on
I would
stairs.
assume that a cemetery's required to have metal stairs.
Requirements. This cemetery kills everyone. That's how they get there.
Well,
They're all Freudsteins. It's
burger
like if you
burger places sell burgers. Like you can't hold it against them. They're a cemetery. They're just getting. You have to get customers somehow.
well, okay. So if you had a big family
Mhm.
and they all kept dying at your house and you buried them
Right.
all on your property,
Mhm.
could you then become legally a cemetery?
So here's something crazy. That property I owned out in Cheshire for a while, it's like 100 acres, had a graveyard on
Mm-hmm.
it. And they called it a pioneer graveyard because they buried
Mm-hmm.
people without headstones. And there was like a big part of the property that are like, your property, you can dig it if you want, but there's bodies there.
You're gonna run
And
into some skeletons.
it is marked on the map, but it is not an actual cemetery.
Okay.
No. So that's like pioneer day stuff. I think as soon as you start putting headstones up and marking the graves and doing that kind of stuff, like that's all got to be done through the coroner.
Okay.
And right. And
I,
so you have to
I,
get like paperwork. When my mom died, it was like you have to get the coroner to sign off on the paperwork saying this person's dead so you can like do all the stuff and then that's how you get the headstone made and the whole nine. But I assume that there's carved headstones. I assume it's a graveyard. I assume the house was a caretaker's house at some point, right? And then he buried himself in it.
he found a way to live forever as the caretaker from the beyond. I am having a sideways thought here.
Let's do
This is
it.
probably not helpful, but
Like Paul Giamatti. We're going to
what?
wine tasting.
No, not quite, but maybe a little similar. So, what if then you built a house on? I already know the answer now that I'm
Poltergeist
thinking about it,
happens.
but if you build a house
If you tried to build
on,
a pool in an Indian burial ground, poltergeist happens. And then Carol Ann goes into the television.
but let's do it the opposite way. What if you build a house and then pretend it's a burial ground by building your own tombstones and carving your own tombstones and just telling everyone, yeah, there's a bunch of bodies here. I realize the answer is fraud, but the other answer would be more fun. Wouldn't that just be the best way to protect your property? Just like put a bunch of headstones on and be like, yeah, it's a cemetery. You don't want to come in here.
Being a person who enjoys a good cemetery, that's not a good way to keep people out of your cemeteries, especially old cemeteries. I'm a big fan. When I went to Barcelona, I went to this like medieval through early 1900s like cemetery. So cool, dude.
But
I'll
you
show
see,
you some of the statues and stuff they had there. Like they had like a death statue carved. Anyways, what I'm
I'll say,
saying is no. I think some people are attracted to a cemetery.
but like if I go out and I like see Adam out there, like okay,
In
that's
the
that's
beginning
odd,
of
but
the
okay, that's
movie,
fine.
there's two 30-year-old teenagers hanging out
That's a good point. And
at
they
the
did
house
break
having a
in, so
good
that
time.
is that is a whole thing. Yeah, maybe not. There has to be some benefit to it. I don't know it though.
Tax breaks, I'm sure.
Yeah, like or they like can't. It's protected land at some point. You know, like that's the only real protection you'll ever get in this world that we got. This crazy crazy world.
I mean, I'm cool
Um.
going wherever Bob went.
Okay, so
At least it shows me
as
there's a way out.
yeah, yeah, that's
I'll
true.
grab the little girl's hand when I'm dying. That's fine. Please take me somewhere. Great.
Was there any scene outside of the house that was emotionally impactful for you? Not emotionally impactful, but impactful on a level where you were like, "Wow, that was great." Because
The
I think
two
the house
real
did a lot of
estate
heavy
agents
lifting.
talking about how it's Freudstein's house and not, and she got all lippy and like I felt like once again, oh, here's narration, this is going to be a device to show us like what, and it just like lets it go. But like for a moment there, I was really interested in what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And then they just stopped talking about it. Of course,
Oakwood
I loved
Manor.
the scenes, the creativity and cinematography. I love the Brooklyn Bridge. I love New York. I love the old
Yeah.
cars, but it's all just the style choice didn't have to be anything because
Hmm.
that's just what it
Hmm.
was then.
Yeah.
That was all gorgeous. I thought the little town was fine, but they showed so little of it. Like you never saw the bus or the grocery store. Things that were talked about never came. I'm gonna go to New York and ask so I can do this thing, and then he never goes to New York. He never actually leaves. I don't think. Um, I was confused more often than not by the things that were happening outside of the house, except for the very beginning. That I would say that the only emotion I ever really had was like irritation.
You like get back to the house, please.
I
Um.
guess the graveyard around the house was very fall and nice, and Bob and
Hmm.
the girl out there. That was a good set piece to set up the emptiness of the house when mom came home, kind of thing, and like giving you an idea. They played Anne as like such a creeper though, and the fact that she wasn't was like so.
and
Anyways,
Anne is the only one that's given a foreshadowing, and so they make a mannequin look like Anne and have her head fall off.
yeah.
You know, and the mannequin or mannequin Anne, I don't know either which way. That you have to figure out that there's something here because Anne is part of the word mannequin. I'm losing the plot here a little bit. So they have her head fall off, and then she gets her head cut off, right? But apparently, there's just no real significance to that either. But it feels like there could be because she keeps doing the shifty eyes all the time.
Quentin Tarantino will tell you what it means.
Gosh, Quentin, please, man, because uh, I
I'm lost in
need
the sauce.
to understand why she just doesn't talk to the mom at times. Why
I
she
might
just
just be bad
stares
at
at her.
watching movies.
She stares at Lucy and like Lucy's like, "Did you make any coffee?" She's like, it's like Lynchian levels of awkward. Yeah, just staring and the zoom in on the eyes where it's just like she knows something she's not supposed to. And apparently she doesn't. She
She
just
doesn't know
doesn't.
nothing. She
She,
just that fluoride
like
stare,
she's
man.
like,
Like,
I watch kids. You are not child. I do not watch you.
right. Like, oh,
And then the wife, she'll even ask a question about it, like, why is she so strange? Why doesn't she talk to me? And the husband's like, I don't know. I don't talk to anybody in this house. I just leave.
how
um,
dismissive that husband was of everything his wife said until all of a sudden he figured it out, and then all of a sudden everything mattered, and we need to go right now. Oh, you
uh,
piece
uh,
of
uh, uh,
garbage.
that real cool like incinerator that he drops the tape into led me to a question of why is he destroying the tapes? Is that because he doesn't want like
To
anyone to
protect
know?
that guy's integrity, I guess, was my idea. Like, he didn't want it getting out that, like, that guy went at the. I don't know, because it's like you're proof that, like, something's messed up. You should probably go talk to the
Mm-hmm.
cops.
In a couple
Where are the
different
cops in
times,
this movie?
they're not involved, and
They just don't
the
exist.
the whole time that he's listening to that tape and it keeps talking about it's like, well, they killed the children, they took the children out, they killed the children, they even got the children, and I'm like, bro, your child is the only one at your house right now
Yeah, he's like
besides Anne.
literally hanging out by himself.
Like, why don't you just go pick up the kid and leave for a little bit, dude? because they're like, we need to switch our houses tonight. We have to do it tonight. And then the realtor never gets back to him because she gets brutally murdered in their house. They don't know that. They were apparently asleep upstairs and didn't hear a thing. I don't
She
know,
got
man.
deglanded.
Um, exactly. Like by the fire poker. And they don't follow up and they don't leave. They're just like, well, I guess she didn't get back to us, so we're just gonna stay here now. That actually does track for
We
me because
want to
that
be
feels
out
like
of here
it's
by
just
tomorrow. There's a murderer in the basement. Maybe now it's a
yeah,
good time to
right.
leave. I don't know.
Maybe when you're this worried
Maybe
about the
not
house you're
going
staying in,
back is great.
yeah, don't leave your kid there. Is
I'm
the only
sure there's a
person who's
motel
there.
around. You know,
That does feel very boomer though to leave the kid there is the only one. Like, yeah, whatever happens to him happens
I
to
mean,
him.
when
It's
I was
fine.
a kid, I got left places all the time. I get it.
Editing and pacing, the perfect thing to come back to because we just lost 20 minutes to technical difficulties, and this movie doesn't have 20 minutes to lose. It is at, I think, a pretty quick hour, 20 something minutes. Doesn't even hit the hour and a half mark. Um, and yet, with that said, do you feel like it earned its full runtime?
There was very little emptiness in this film. There was always something happening. Um, the cohesion of it sucked, but um, in a movie like this, you want the pacing to be jarring, and it was at points. But I think that's plot driven. That's a tough word for this, though. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. I think it could have gone longer if they would have explained things. Honestly, I feel like it might have been, but that's what these kind of movies are about. And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole and try to justify anything. It was fine. It was exactly what it needed to be. It kept you engaged for the most part. I only felt myself drifting away from it. I would get probably twice, a couple of times when long droning conversations were happening between professors about something that I knew nothing about because I had no context. I got a little drowsy in like the paying attention. The ADHD brain was like, we don't care about this. And I'm like, no, you're right. I do not care. Other than those parts though, like there was enough happening all the time that I felt like a ball was being moved forward.
Okay, this is similar to how I felt. This is one of those movies where, for me, it either needed to be cut down a lot or be made longer. So I agree with you. Like there
Oh,
was one or two
100%. You could have
directions.
cut 30 minutes out of it and it could have
Hmm.
just been nonstop fucking let's go.
Like what it was, any of the scenes with the library and they're finding out about the past of
None of New
the
York was
house.
necessary at all.
No,
That's the
not
first.
even a little bit.
Mm-mm. That
It,
whole first scene was unnecessary. It was the end of the movie at the beginning to draw
mhm,
people. Like
mhm.
the whole first 20 minutes of the movie didn't need. And I would say that there was a good half hour in the middle you didn't need. The
But
end
here's
I
the
felt
thing.
like was good though.
It was for sure. The thing is, though, is I think if you added like 10 minutes of exposition into this movie at some point, and not like direct exposition, but like some version of
Be
explaining
direct
anything.
with it. Anything. Throw me a bone. You know what I'm saying though. Like
Yeah, I do. I do. If you did that, though, then all these other scenes all of a sudden are useful and they should stay in
and
there.
then all of a
You
sudden
know,
it becomes cohesive and I'm like, oh, this is a movie.
that's I think at some point, like Fulci and everyone who was making this film really just was like, "Hey, man, we gotta end this. We have to end this. It can't keep going." And he's like, "But I didn't explain that. It doesn't matter. Just end it." And he's like, "Okay, all right.
How many
I'm gonna come
weeks
up
do
with
you think it took
justifications."
them to shoot this movie?
Okay. Do you count the amount of time it took to make the special effects?
No,
Okay, just as far as shooting,
because then we would
pro-
count the time to make puppets. So we're not doing that.
uh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's our bar now.
yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks feels
Do you
right.
think
I
the
mean,
sound effects in the house were the
uh,
house, or do you think they were added
there
after
were
the
no
fact?
sound effects in the house.
When the head's bouncing down the stairs, there is.
Okay. Um.
What about the
eh,
Freddy claws on the wall at the beginning? Don't tell me that wasn't Freddy, because I know that was Freddy. Remember, it's like the nails scraping down the wall. I'm like, uh-oh.
Here comes a lawsuit. Um.
I don't think
The
when this movie came out, we weren't blessed with Freddy yet.
Oh no, maybe
This was
not. Maybe not.
pre-Freddy.
81. Maybe. Yeah, you might be exactly right. Let's see. Oh, that's 84. You're exactly right. So
Sure,
the
like Freddy was coming though.
yeah, the editing and pacing, I accept it for what it is because it was a quick movie and it wasn't very long, and like there was intrigue in the scenes that I think should have been cut, but they never answered the intrigue. So
Brother,
it's a
I've
movie
seen
that's
a lot more movie in an hour and a half, though.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. No, 100%.
I've seen some big time movies in an hour and a half. That's plenty of time to get to the point.
It just it falls into a weird spot. It's like less or more, but not what you have. What you have is like the worst medium you could have possibly chosen.
Yep.
We
Luckily,
included
it's
a whole bunch.
gorgeous.
Yes, that's true. Like they're like we included a whole bunch of world building that leads to absolutely nothing, and you know,
And you're starting to
um,
get to know me. The world building is my favorite part, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah, feed it to me. I love it.
mm-hmm.
Like, but give me some sort of closure on it. Like,
Something.
if it's Lovecrafty and awesome, you don't have to say it outright, but just like give me an idea. If it, God, Nazi experiments or whatever, like I don't know. I felt lost. I don't like it because of that. I like the whimsy of the storytelling when it comes to things like this. I don't need a direct reasoning, but I need a cloud to live on, like
Mm-hmm.
obviously this isn't everyday life. This is a fantasy world that you're building. Well, let me in on the fantasy. Like, that's why I'm watching and I want to be a part of it. Like,
This cool
then you
background that he's
gatekeep
got
it
for
from
this.
me. How dare you? And then
Yeah,
later on your deathbed, you talk about how cool you were and how cool it was, and I still don't get it. How dare
And
you?
that's exactly it. It's like this world building that apparently Fulci put through to make this trilogy, right? Which is so interesting, but completely absent from two of the three movies. The Beyond talks about it a little bit, but
Right.
very vaguely, just in general. Like there's a gate under this hotel. Um, but it unfortunately reminds me so much of a Dario Argento's Witch trilogy or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
where it's like there's this awesome idea underneath this, and boy, howdy, did you not let me in. You just showed me some really cool things, and you said there's witches, and there's this really cool thing, and there's newspapers about it, but we're not going to read them to you.
Right.
And
And
I don't
maybe
know if
I'm
that's
spoiled,
yeah.
but I appreciate context in my world building, but I'm more of a fantasy guy, fantasy
Mm-hmm.
horror guy when it comes to horror. Like, I don't, slasher ain't really my thing. So when you start putting onto a hook the idea of a fantasy horror, but you don't follow through on it, I become disappointed.
So it's like there's this idea, and I don't know if you've ever read Bleak House or The Totem by Stephen King. So these are like some Stephen King ideas, and Stephen King's he's almost like a serialized horror writer at this point, where it's just random thing, random thing, random thing. But he had this like moment where he was mixing this like world with the Dark Tower and like using it to create unique monsters that appeared in certain areas, and like this was interesting because there was a tie for like why the evil is being created and why it's showing up in certain places and why it's doing what it does, right? And then ultimately it leads to this thing that has no connection to those monsters. And
You're like, thanks
that
for taking
feels
me on that adventure.
it feels so similar because it's like
To
it doesn't
nothing.
have to reach like a crazy crescendo. It just should reach something.
That's,
Like just yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
being picky.
Yeah. So I think that like realistically, I'm saying go the extra 20 minutes and give me backstories on anything that's happening right now. Or not even backstories, just connect them to what we're seeing. Like,
Well, if you want to talk about films like this and things that are outrageous, even look at like Lloyd Kaufman, like any of the films that he did. Yeah, they're all sloppy horror movies, but like everyone has a fleshed out story and it tells you the story,
Mm-hmm.
so you're a part of it and it's fun. You know, like I understand that this is supposed to be dark and brooding and like scary and like, but like the idea that this is you don't understand it because you just don't understand kind of thing always just makes me feel like yuck. Like you don't understand, sir. Like I have seen, I don't know, 20,000 films, I don't know, whatever. Like I can watch a movie like and you don't have to spoon feed it to me, but you know, but once again, this wasn't a movie that was made for people to watch at home and be hypercritical of. This was a movie made to be in theaters to sell tickets with a topless lady and zombies and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
murder.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably part of a double feature that was awesome. And, you know, I don't even think like the VCR home audience in 81 was, I mean, it was just in its infancy then. Like it really didn't even start taking off till like 82. And by 84, like you could get a VCR for your home, but you're talking about, you know, it was like $1,000
Oh
thing back
yeah, yeah,
then.
yeah.
And so this was only in theaters, right? Like this is where you would go to see it. So I would assume in a theater, like it probably hit a bit harder. The pacing probably felt better on the big screen. Bet you the special effects look pretty cool
Oh man,
like that.
sure, sure.
But this movie
Uh,
was definitely made to be seen
mm-hmm.
on film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, I have a Blu-ray transfer of it, which is a special edition copy, which I love because it even comes with the soundtrack on CD, which is pretty rare for these things,
oh, the
but pretty sweet.
soundtrack's heat.
One of the things that they do in this movie is they add or well, they keep so much of the film grain in it, which is usually rare. A lot of these restorations remove the film grain.
I
This one did
hate
not.
that. Do not
It
do
did
that,
not.
people. When you transfer these things, leave it. It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
very important to leave that.
I've wondered how hard it is to like upscale film grain. I
Hard, I bet.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's just, I bet you it's just pixelization and fracture, right? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
noise.
But yeah, with that said, like more or less, but not where you land it because where you land it's just confusing to me. Um,
Yeah, the
but
pacing existed. The movie
hmm
moved. There was a
hmm
beginning and end, but the end was at the beginning. But I
yeah, so I mean, but there's not much more to say about it because like if you've decided not to go with a movie, at least make it short, or not to go with the story, excuse me, at least make it short, and they did at least make it short. They didn't pack the
there's an
runtime.
argument to be made that the theater is in the mind, right? And it's up to you to. I've watched plenty of movies where the director's intention was you put the stuff in between the lines and it's your movie to make. But Fulci was pretty clear that he had an idea of what this was. So what
Hmm
by doing that, like I have to do that because I have no context. But I don't know. It just feels off because of that reason. If that's the intention, great. Let me know. Like I like Donnie
Yeah,
Darko. I like
I
that
mean,
it doesn't make sense.
maybe Argento and Fulci just came together and they said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna be withholding on purpose. We're gonna withhold from the American audience and the
The other
Italian audience,
version in
but
English explains everything perfectly.
it's like,
Just in the
well, he
overdub version,
was
they just cut things. There's like a whole sentence cut out that just explains, wraps everything up. They're like, yeah, you
he's
don't get that one.
he's standing in the basement with Dr. Freudstein. Dr. Freudstein goes, I was a Nazi experiment gone wrong, and now I eat the glands of people to stay young. Woo.
He did the woo at the end. Woo.
It plays really well in Italy. You have to understand.
I do.
Um,
Yeah.
so let's just move on to music and sounds
Yeah,
because
it
music and
was great.
sounds.
Pacing was fine. Music and sound is the best part of this movie outside of in I here's what I'm gonna say. In a locked box, like if we're pulling each part of the movie apart,
Mhm.
the music's the best part of this movie,
I
in my
love it when they're
opinion.
traveling over the bridge and the music gets funky for a minute. Like, but it's such a moody piano track the whole way through,
The mood
and
organ is what it is, and it is so good.
well,
It's got it's the sound of the time, right?
mhm,
Like that
mhm.
electronic music was really popular back then. It's definitely a Moog. I promise you that, with like a little organ keyboard,
Oh, for sure. But
and the
he
guy
busts into
playing it
that.
smokes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
good. Those background waves he brings in, and like, oh,
It's got the moody piano whenever they're in an in between or like transitional scene. It's got the moody piano, and then it's just got the synth whenever something's about to happen. And of course, it works. We've seen this so many times. I mean, like I think you brought up Goblin already. Like that they are still doing international tours because this works so well.
yeah,
Um, and it works so well here. I mean, that first theme track you get sets the tone perfectly.
it's a banger.
It,
The
it,
fact that you have the soundtrack actually makes me happy. Like, that's rad. That's a cool thing to have. Like, this is some music you could play just around the
mhm,
house, you know?
mhm. I was wondering too when I saw it in there. I was like, okay, so this soundtrack is either going to be amazing or they really just don't care about it, so they're just throwing it out to anyone they can. And I went with amazing. So
It bumps.
soundtrack definitely worked. And again, I love that random funk song they decided to throw onto the bridge because it that is the one song that feels out of place, but in that moment feels in place. So
Exactly what it
good for you.
needed. They did great. Whoever did
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
the
yeah.
sound and the score, they did great. It was awesome.
And that is Walter Rizzati. Rizzati? I don't know. He
Good
did.
name.
Yeah, he did a few other movies. I don't see any of them as really well known movies for what it's worth. Uh, unless you really love 1990, The Bronx Warriors,
I do.
or Deadly Impact.
I do.
At Deadly Impact, that makes sense. Um,
I love A Bronx Warrior too. That movie's
see,
awesome, dude. Yeah.
so the
I'm
same
not
guy for all
not
these.
kidding. Yeah, that's a good. It's actually a good movie. I have so many movies for you to watch coming up, brother. You're gonna have a
Wonderful,
great time.
wonderful, wonderful. Um, Yeah, so I suppose let's just move on to our three favorite scenes because we've hit a lot of the meat off of the potatoes of everything else. The meat off the potatoes. That doesn't make
Yeah, and I
sense.
think I've
We
already.
had we had technical difficulties. You have to understand. It's been like 30 minutes since you heard us talk last.
My
Your three favorite scenes. Just perfect timing because Adam's gonna give us his three favorite scenes right now.
the bat attacking his hand. Classic, classic. The practical effects were wonderful. Harry Van Housen, eat your heart out. You can't touch this.
Uh,
So good. Obnoxiously, obviously fake. Rapid camera movements, plastic wings. The thing was the size of a Volkswagen. Blood everywhere. Just tape it up. Like, loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Love things like that. Thank you. Good,
They
good.
let everybody in the family in on it too. They're like,
Blood's
you get a bad
everywhere.
attack, you get a bad attack, you get the blood sprayed on your face.
Dude, bats attacking lady's head. What's
Yeah.
husband doing?
I forgot about that. He's just sitting there standing like, oh no, what do I do? And oh no.
That lasts for 15 seconds of him going,
Right, because it makes sense to
he's
be
like,
really
well, the bat's not
confused.
attacking me. You
For 2 seconds, right? If you're confused, okay, all right, you don't know what's
Your
happening.
wife's
You're a
head's
little
being
confused.
eaten. Help her out.
Yeah, but like the level of weight that he goes to, he's just like, it's gonna stop, right? Like, come on, man. Like, okay,
Like he
all
was
right, okay.
bored waiting for it. So
Yeah, he
that's
didn't
the
stop.
love it.
Yeah, that
Love it.
love
Love the
it.
bat. The That's my bread and butter. You'll get me with stuff like that every time. I love it. In the same vein, when he stabs him and the worms and maggots come out of him, bravo. You know what I like. Thank you. Just outrageous. Just imagine the insides of that whole guy is just crawling with that mess, and that's what keeps him moving, and that's why he moves like that. Yes, Fulci. That's Fulci. That's what you want,
Mm-hmm.
because all of a sudden the movements of the guy make sense, and like the madness of everything, and like, oh, dude, so
good. And then I like it when the little boy dies and he goes to heaven. I don't care what Fulci says. That's what happened. Well, he goes to the purgatory or wherever he goes. He goes to Chuck E. Cheese. I guess wherever you go when you die. I don't know.
You walk down a winding road with an old lady and a girl you barely know forever.
Let me throw in bonus. When it's obviously a cross in the floor. You can see it through the dust.
Mm-hmm.
She gets down on all fours and runs her finger around the entire cross and then goes, "Oh, you didn't know it before you did that?"
The level of accumulation on that floor too, I would be very concerned if I saw that much dirt on the floor underneath my carpet. I'd be like, oh, well, that's on purpose. There's no way it's not.
And the fact that the stairs are right on the other side of that.
Because you're hearing the echo when you walk, right? You're feeling the difference in like height,
But she has
verticality.
to trace it, and then she knows what it is after that. Because she didn't know it was a piece of concrete on the floor with a cross on it before she did. There's another 30 seconds that just could have been removed from the movie. Completely
100%. The realtor crashing through it, by the way, was that just like the realtor unfortunately stepped in the wrong spot and found out that structural instability is a thing, or was that a trap set up for the realtor?
I think the house is alive. I think it's a
Okay.
living thing.
Okay.
I think it has the ability to hide things. I think it has the ability to do things. I don't know that that's clever me saying that. I think that's just what people assume with this movie, and I think there was an act of aggression, of evil towards her. Great special effect in that part, though.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
her ankle got ripped up going through that hole. Good.
Mm-hmm.
All the special effects they did with her were really good. All the special effects in the movie were really good. But that's like, if you watch a Fulci film and the special effects aren't good, you're not watching a Fulci film, right? Like,
You would be concerned about Fulci in that time period. You'd be like, what happened to this guy?
No, it was great. But those would be my three favorite scenes. I love terrible practical effects, and they get me. I get them. I understand it. In a different life, that's what I do for a living, right? I'm taping plastic bats to people's hands and spraying fake blood everywhere.
They did get you for sure on this. Okay, I'll jump in with my three favorite scenes. My first favorite scene is the glowing eyeballs in the dark. I just loved it.
Right along the lines of stuff I like.
Yeah, when Bob was down there and they're moving around, and Bob is just watching like, oh no. It was like a bad fun house, right? But again, I mean, it gave me Pazuzu vibes from The Exorcist, right? Where you suddenly see his face over in the corner, and it's like, well, that doesn't belong. That for sure doesn't belong, and I know it doesn't like me just based on everything that's been happening. So that's not great.
I love how inorganic the eyes are, though. How
For
very
sure.
obviously they're two headlights behind plastic caps,
Yeah.
unmoving, unliving, like
Mm-hmm.
so good.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
I mean,
two flashlights they're turning on behind.
which this sounds like we're like talking crap about it, but like
No,
legitimately,
no.
it makes them feel so much more menacing.
If it ever comes across, and people that listen to this and listen to me, if it ever comes across like I'm being negative about when I'm talking like this, I am in love. This is like things that I love. I love that it gave you the spook,
Yeah,
scared you a little bit. Like, that's great, 'Cause I
it was
dying laughing.
it was an excellent
But I
use.
laugh when I get anxious, right? So like, when
Maybe there's
things are crazy and going on, I just start laughing about it, I guess. I don't know.
well to me like there was a lot of darkness in this movie, and it was the time where they actually they capitalized on that darkness. They hadn't prior to this. They were finally like, all right, let's use some of these shadows to our.
Well, the whole cellar, right, as a
Mhm.
space seemed endless, right? Even though it's just the cellar and there was just two rooms, I guess, but it felt, looking into the darkness and seeing those eyes, it made it feel huge, right? Like endless.
And there could be anything down here. Knowing what we knew about Dr. Freudstein, there's really no way you could have made him just pop up for a moment, and then go away again. So you had to do something kind of out of the box. And him not having eyes, but having these eyes that travel everywhere, it worked for me. It was an interesting idea.
Ooh, I like that concept.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the eyes aren't a part of him. Are they in
But
his hands?
I,
Are they his
you know,
nipples?
just looking out through the shirts, the two headlights. Um, my second
I
favorite
would
scene is the
watch that
scene.
movie.
Check out Dumb and Dumber, my man.
It's good. Dumb and Dumber's a good movie. Don't
Dumb and
tell
Dumber
me.
is great. The scene where Anne gets trapped. And I mean, like, after she's looking for Bob, she goes down and the door shuts and she has to go back up the stairs. That is a wonderful scene. It honestly, it's not just when she gets her head chopped off with the knives tearing her throat, because that's a pretty, that's one of those times where the effects worked for me. Like, as far as they looked brutal and they came across as brutal. But what I really mean is the whole scene itself with Bob walking around with his toy, getting lost in the house, her not knowing where he is, assuming he went to the basement. He's not in the basement. Now she's trapped. She's in trouble. And then Bob trying to help her. That whole sequence of
This
events
entire
worked
movie
so well for me.
took place on a staircase.
Yeah, well, basically,
That's what you just made
pretty
me
close.
realize. Yeah.
It's like we're going up and downstairs, and that's it.
Like every important part of the movie's on that at that portal.
That's true. I mean, like, the basement was the entrance into imagination.
Okay. I can
That
see why you
no one
like
ever said
that
that,
part.
but
I didn't. Yeah. So like
I
when they get trapped in there, it's kind of like they're trapped in the other realm. And like, does the door every time that guy comes out, does the door have to be locked?
the door locks itself.
Right, but is it every time he comes out?
You know,
Does his
I don't know.
existence force the door to be locked?
There's a chance that the answer to this might be yes, but I don't think we have enough information. From what we've seen is that when someone goes in and it shuts, it does lock. However, you can open it via a knife on the top of the door, not the key, but a knife through the top of the door.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Which this doesn't track. If I don't know doors super well, but I do know well enough that
No,
that
that's
didn't
not how
make a lot of
doors
sense.
work. No.
Um, also, geez, anyways, but really, like, a huge part of this was Bob grabbing Yogi, and this is just knowing my own kids. Like, they would do this; they would find consolation in whatever random object they had around them, and it was this part that tracked true and made me think Fulci has kids. That was the part where I'm like, oh, he's seen this before, and he's really drawn off of something right now.
Yeah. Adorable part.
Yeah, yeah.
I need my weapons. And his weapons are his little bear, Blanky.
In that little pink pop gun.
I loved it. Yeah.
Because, like,
he moved and acted like a real kid, right?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
They probably screwed him up, man. That's probably why he does porn now.
I thought about it when I was watching. I was like, man, this was just his toys, and he thought something was going on. Because, like, there's one moment where there's, like, real sympathy for a character, and for me, it's when Bob is walking down those stairs and he's gonna go rescue Anne, and you're just like, oh,
how have we not brought up? And the reason I didn't bring up this scene is because I was sure you were going to choose it, and I guess I didn't read your things. When Bob's head gets pushed up against the door, and the dad's taking the axe to it. And then he pulls the axe back out and it's got blood on it. And like, was that Bob's blood? Whose blood is that? Like, that scene was pretty I can't believe we didn't pick that. No, none of us. That was sick too.
We saw the monster's arm get chopped off, so the audience knows, but the dad doesn't know, and the dad just moves on. He's just like, nope, can't deal with that right now. Which is, I mean, as far as reaction goes,
both sides of his head, like being a parent. I was like, quit swinging the axe.
It was mean, and like, it had just made Bob so sympathetic.
Well, he told him to step back from the door, right? And then that dude's hand just palms him to the door. His dad doesn't know he's there.
No. Yeah, can you imagine? Like, if you want a darker end of this movie that ended incredibly dark, that's how you do it.
Do you think you killed your kid with an
Yeah,
axe.
yeah, exactly. And then you make him live forever with that knowledge, even if it wasn't true. You make him live forever with that.
Yeah.
That would be a dark end of that movie. Um. Anyways, yeah, because it just made Bob so sympathetic for me. It had just made Bob like feel like a real character for this brief moment in the storyless movie. All
Yep.
of a sudden, one of the characters became real. It was like, oh man, wow! Can you imagine if I had emotional connection to any of these characters? That would be
Right.
amazing. This would hit so much harder, and they did it for a second, and I loved it.
Yeah.
My third favorite scene is one that is just so ridiculous that it just encapsulated the rest of the film within a little teeny bucket. And we did talk about it prior, but it was the scene where Lucy just completely ignores Anne cleaning up a ton of blood and is told that they're making coffee. Because it was the scene that told me, hey, don't worry about this. Just don't worry about it, okay?
We
Like
don't care. Why should you?
exactly. It wasn't telling Lucy not to worry about the blood. It was telling the audience not to worry about logic. It was
Right.
like, we are specifically showing you her cleaning a ton of blood and the woman of the house not caring.
Yep.
Not even questioning.
And she's
not even
obviously
asking.
been terrified by like how crazy this house is the whole time. So you would assume that a trail of blood leading to the basement would cause alarm.
Maybe Anne not answering that question makes so much more sense in the context that she's just like, I'm cleaning up blood. Like, what are you
asking me?
Do you not care right now? Like the Zoomer stare is
The
just
lady's
like,
just
you can't
on
be
pills like crazy.
real. Is there coffee? There's gotta be coffee, right?
What are you doing?
She's like, you can see what I'm doing. I'm cleaning up this crazy amount of blood
Who
that
did
popped
you
out of nowhere.
kill? Please don't kill me.
And just with her crazy, like suspicious eyes, just standing there like,
You got me, man.
I've got coffee.
You got me on this one.
Like
Good.
it's one of those things. It's wonderful. Those are my three favorite scenes. Adam, how you feel? You want to jump in your review first, or you want me to knock this one out?
I'll hit you. This movie is all sorts of things that I like. 75% of the movie I thought was awesome. 25% of the movie was unnecessary, and the script was terrible. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, see, this is where you have to understand. We've said a lot of things. You're still, well, I'll just keep my review. The story's a 1. It's not there. Like, it doesn't track. It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't make sense. Fulci can give an interview multiple years down the line, and unfortunately, even if I've read it, that doesn't count when you watch the movie. Like you said, this was a theater movie. People who were watching this were going to the theaters. They weren't looking up interviews. How could you even look up an interview? It was impossible. So
he definitely wasn't being interviewed in the newspaper about it.
No way. So essentially what he's saying is that if you don't read my mind, or if you don't go out of your way to probably travel somewhere to see me speak, you're not going to understand this, and I'm okay with that. And I say to that, Fulci, that's a choice you've made that I strongly disagree with. Let your audience exist within the film.
Yes.
So the story's a 1. Acting is a 3, because physically I think they all did a really good job. The dub's not always great. As a matter of fact, often bad, but not as bad as people say. Like, come on, get off the thing about Bob. It's fine. Like, have you ever heard an 8-year-old kid speak? Sometimes they sound like girls. It's fine. It doesn't really matter. Like, this is like, everyone's like, he sounds like a woman. Well, yeah, but he's an 8-year-old boy, so like they sung in choirs or something with the high pitch and registry. I don't know, man. But also, like, stop the voice judgment, okay?
I thought the dub over was a little bit charming. I liked it. It was tacky, and I like tacky.
The one,
but I didn't think it was uber annoying like some people do.
Yeah. I don't. I think those people don't have kids. I think that's the difference. They don't have to listen to kids' voices
all the time.
right? Like I have to listen to whining so often. Yeah, it is annoying, but that's also real. So if I'm judging acting, like yeah, there you go. Um, I'm giving it a 3. It was competent. Nothing really like blew me away, and
The crying looked
I don't
like
think it
real
was bad.
crying.
It did. And the crying voice didn't sound very good, especially when Dr. Freudstein was doing it. But also, like again, with the dubs, I have a hard time giving you solid reasons on either here nor there because like they're in a different place completely. They're not seeing the physicality, and who knows what the director's saying. Cinematography, creativity, that's a 5. This is where the movie shines. Like Fulci knows what he's got, and he uses it well. And not only that, but this movie has more. Um, just there's beauty in these shots, and they're shot very competently, and there's a lot of really good compositions as far as just photography goes. I wish there was more, but that's not something I'm going to detract from the score on this particular film. So it's a 5 because what is there is wonderful, and it's really the driver of this movie. Um, Editing, pacing is a 3. We talked about it. It could use more, it could use less. Thankfully, they did know not to overextend the length with just nothing. And at least when they were in the library, the scenes that were the most egregious to me, the guy looked kind of creepy. So there you go. That's what I got.
How was
Uh,
that guy not a bad guy?
he should have been. Like there was so many avenues in this movie they should have walked down, and they were just like,
Guy was a
don't keep it.
cretin.
He's always there too. He's like, I was just watching you. I kept all the stuff hidden in
Come in
boxes
on
for you.
Sunday.
The music and sounds was a 4 out of 5. This would have been a 5 out of 5 for the soundtrack alone, except for as we discussed, the soundscape was basically non-existent. There was also, for me, a major issue in the overdub, and that is there was a slight echo on every single thing everybody did, and no one at any point thought to correct it at all. An echo that didn't make sense. It didn't sound
Oh,
organic
it made
for the film.
sense. It's called a sound booth.
Yeah, I mean, physically it makes sense, but in the film it didn't make a lot of sense. That felt very lazy.
It was so super off-putting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It actually did really bug me. The soundtrack is awesome and it makes up for it, but like that echo in the overdub was pretty gnarly. You would
The
like
house
this
is
is.
such a warm, cozy, tight space, right? Of
Mhm,
old wooden walls, and we know what that sounds like
mhm.
because we're humans and we live in America and we grew up in wood houses. Like, that's not it. That's not what that sounds like.
Not even kind of. Not even a little bit.
No.
It sounds like really. It sounds like an issue. Like one of the mics wasn't fully plugged in or something at some point. Like it's pretty bad. And I would love for one of these restoration companies to figure out a way to edit out the echo. And I know that's probably next to impossible without an audio engineer genius. Get them though. Get the engineer genius. Pay the money. Do it. Um, yeah, so that leads me to a 6.5 out of 10. So all these things I'm saying that sound pretty bad. The movie comes out pretty respectable in value because with Fulci and with people who are that dedicated to the craft and that good at their craft at specific times, that craft alone can really win you a lot of things, and it does. Again, a movie well worth watching is if you're like one of these cult horror fans, which you would, I assume you would be if you're listening to this, especially. But like I wasn't upset that I watched it, even with the bad things that I said about it at certain points. I think that it was a fine movie, and this is a trilogy that has absolutely zero story, but has some weird story in the background. If you ask Fulci 20 years later,
As
and
soon
I
as I was
recommend
done
every
with the
movie.
movie, right, I texted you and I said, "Thanks, man. This was gold," and I meant it. It was
Yeah,
awesome. I had a great time watching it.
couldn't say what it was about at all for the life of me, But like, I don't need to. I don't need to.
I understood enough.
Yeah. So Adam,
I-
th- thank you for joining me on this review.
Yep.
This voyage of a review. Our next film that we're going to be watching is Barbarian Queen by Hector Oliveira from 1985. They had an accent over the E in Hector and then not in Oliveira, and it kind of threw me for a second if you heard me hesitate there. That movie was a recommendation from Adam here, so we are excited to watch it.
same director that did like Sword and the Sorceress. He's Argentinian, right? And I got into Argentinian movies through like Armando Bo. Did a bunch of exploitation movies with Isabella Sarli in Argentina and Chile. They did a bunch of movies, and we'll watch them at some point on this, like Imbruglia or something. But um, same idea as the Italian stuff, kind of. You know, you have a lady and you bring people in with the 10 seconds of toplessness, and then you tell an entire movie around. Like, it's actually an amazing movie. And then that led into this director who was doing the same kind of idea, right? Kind of like, you know, selling sex to get the story told kind of thing. And so it is, I would say that it does kind of fall into the same thing as Armando Bo, into like a realm of like sexploitation a little bit. But done in that way that it's like empowering. So like, you know, any of the movies behind me, you know, like Beyond the Valley of the Dolls or Ultra Vixens or Galaxina or Barbarella or anything like that. Like so I really like, so out of any movie, like I've picked movies before. This is the first time I felt comfortable enough to be like, here's the kind of movies I really like. And that doesn't mean I'm going to give it a good rating. It just means that I really like it. There's a difference.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, it's great. It's Argentinian. It is an English cast. Everybody speaks English, but the entire crew is from Argentina. And that comes across in a lot of ways in the film. But you'll see. It's a very. It's been a while since I've watched it. I've watched its sister film because there is a part 2. Because of course there is, very recently, and I watched Sword and the Sorceress very recently. So I wanted to go back and revisit this one anyways. But if you haven't seen it out there, and we're going to review it soon, it's going to be spoiler heavy. Like, you should check it out. You just watch it on YouTube. It's not hard to find.
Yeah, well, unless you're looking for physical media, then it's basically impossible. Just get the VHS
Well, you just come
copy.
to my house and you borrow the Betamax and you're good to go.
But yeah, we're very excited to watch it. Sword and sorcery sort of film. I haven't seen it yet, so that's all I can say about it. But you heard Adam; he pitched it pretty well. So check it out. In 2 weeks, you can listen to it or whenever, because movies, turns out, they don't expire.
Right. Also, it's like Corman, right? Like Roger Corman. So it's like that whole family of. It's the Corman family of movies, and if you know who Roger Corman is, you know exactly what you're getting into.
Right. Okay. So until next time. Bob's always bringing home that trash.